Hello, everyone. Finally, Venkat is here. Welcome to the Diversity is Lit book club discussion. Today we will be talking about Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. Was a great book. We're going to have a really great discussion. This is the first time in a while that we've had all of our regular co-hosts on all together, so super excited. Everyone is linked down below at their main social media hubs, so please give them a follow because they're all wonderful. And if you don't know me, my name is HollyDavis. I'm a YA and middle grade fantasy writer, hoping to be traditionally published. I'm the host of the book club. And as always, I am happy to be here. And if you're here, let us know in the comments if you read the book. And if you're watching the replay, let us know that as well. And then I'll let my lovely co-hosts introduce themselves.
So I'm writer Alicia Grumley, and you can find me there on Instagram. And as of tomorrow, at the same name on YouTube, I'm finally starting my AuthorTube channel that we've all talked about for so long in honor of October. Yes. So I hope I can see some of you there. I'm excited to see some of you. And I write poetry, I write YA fantasy, and I've been really into like letter writing lately, which is kind of a new fun pursuit. But birthday cards or just letters to my future self or past self. So those are some of the things I'm kind of working on, and I am so excited to talk about Firekeeper's Daughter. I've been on hiatus for the summer. Basically, my family had a lot of big celebrations and a little bit of grieving we had to do this summer, and it's been insane. So I'm very excited that this is the book that I get to return on because I love it. And you all may notice I'm wearing a Detroit Red Wings shirt because I don't know if you know, but I currently live in Indianapolis, but I am from Northern Michigan, not the UP, but Northern Michigan, Traverse City area. So we are hockey fans up there. So I'm repping a little bit of Wings gear. So good to see you all.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Venkat. I am also an aspiring author. I write YA and middle grade, fantasy, and contemporary. And I am Holly's twin. If you think, well, guys kind of look a little similar.
It's always a good point. We just assume.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah, sure, you can go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, everybody. I'm Theresa Beasley. I write under the pen name T.A. Beasley, and I write young adult and adult contemporary fiction and thrillers. And I am so excited to be here to talk about this book.
Yay. And Theresa, we had done a member spotlight when we were on Facebook. And then when we switched to Goodreads, it was a little bit harder to do. But I thought it would be fun to bring it back onto Instagram. So Theresa was the first on Facebook and again on Instagram. So go check that out if you haven't already.
Hey.
Thank you.
And I'm Vanessa. I am Vanessa Marie on YouTube and author Vanessa Marie on Instagram. I write YA fantasy, paranormal, and horror. And I have a writing diversity series on YouTube, which this month we will be having our live stream, and we will have it with Theresa over here. So super excited.
Yay!
That's so exciting.
I'm so excited.
I'm so happy to see you all. Oh my gosh, I've missed you all so much.
I know, we missed you too.
We missed you too.
Other people who missed you, James. Hi, James. You were here early, like super early, which is awesome. And Jen is here. Hi, Jen.
Hey.
And Lois is here. Hi. I'm really excited because I know some people read the book, some people listen to the audiobook. I know Vanessa always does both, so I think that'll be interesting. to kind of hear from those perspectives too, because reading and trying to pronounce some of the words, I'm like, I wish I had listened to the audiobook for this so I could know what, these words to pronounce them. But just as our disclaimer, as we do for every book club discussion, there will be spoilers. Sometimes they just happen right away. So if you've read the book, you have been warned. And if you haven't read the book, you can feel free to watch or leave, read the book, and then come back. Also, there are trigger warnings for rape and sexual activity and PTSD and anxiety. And is there any else that I'm missing?
Drug abuse.
Yes.
Drug
Yes. Yes. Yeah, of course. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and overdose, right? We've got to give the overdose one too. So,
Yes.
but which I don't know that I fully realized all those were
Violence.
trigger warnings before we started reading the book.
No.
So I'm glad that we're getting them here.
Right,
because,
right.
Yeah.
Scribbling Cat's here too. Hello. Hi. We're so happy to have everyone. So first we'll kind of go into, so let us know in the comments your general overall thoughts on the book and what you would rate the book. So because we were talking about the trigger warnings, I kind of wanted to just go into that about that. That was like one of my only things that I was concerned about, that there wasn't any trigger warnings, because that did catch me off guard. And I was like, no, like I've read trigger warnings in self-published books and indie authors, but I don't know if that's a thing in the trad pub world yet. And if not, they're way behind. It's 2021 and they need to get their act together, because like, I kind of don't think that's okay in this day and age. So, because that could make someone stop reading,
Right.
So I just think that would be the best thing. But I really, really enjoyed this book. It was just so culturally rich. I really like that we read this book, because we haven't read a book, especially from this rich Ojibwe tribe. And like, I had no idea about like anything about the tribal culture, the reservations, like per capita, and the elders, and just everything. I was just like, I felt so immersed in it. Like, it felt so real, and as it should, because it's own voices. But I just really loved it because it just felt so real and authentic. And I felt like I was learning so much, but also like enjoying the story as well. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm just learning all this, history kind of thing. But it had a really good story to it as well. So I gave this 5 stars because I loved it. The trigger warning thing was the only thing that bothered me, as well as the only thing was that I felt like it was a little slow at the beginning. Like the first 50 pages, it felt like a YA contemporary romance, other than like the kids with like the fireworks, I think, or whatever that. And I was like, oh my God, like, cause I didn't read the description, but I remembered something about a shooting. So I was like, oh my God, here it is. And then I was like, oh no, it's not, there's just fireworks. So then it was kind of like this like slow burn, but I wish, I wish it had picked up a little bit faster. But she did set things up pretty well. But really that was my only concern. Otherwise I loved it.
So I also went 5 stars, and being from Northern Michigan, I'm not going to get all of the pronunciation, but the tribe is Ojibwe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I totally said that wrong.
No, I was going to say, there's way more vowels than we in the English language typically use together, right?
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So for me, because it felt so much like a throwback to home, like when this came out, this was like on the front page of my hometown newspaper in one of the sections, because it's one of our own, it's a Michigan author. This is a huge deal in the book community. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Netflix picked it up and it's going to be turned into a movie or a series.
Yes.
And I think it was a 7-figure deal for her. So like this is,
because I read the back and I saw it's going to be a movie and I was like,
yeah, it's incredibly just like, I think the community's proud, as they well should be, right? Like Michigan throughout, because like I said, upper lower peninsula. So sometimes you'll hear lower peninsula Michiganders called trolls because we live under the bridge. So the Yoopers live over the bridge, right? So it's Yooper is Yooper.
Yes.
But it's, yeah, so it's not Ooper, it's Yooper. You're part of the UP.
I only first learned of that, my patient, maybe in like June, she wore a Yooper shirt. And so like just a couple months ago, I had no idea about that term and the whole UP.
Right. So because like, okay, so here's the first spoiler, right? Because we go into the loss of a parent, like starting the story, that like the new normal felt like, yeah, I get that. I get what the new normal is. And Holly and Heather, I think you guys also know that. And I think Theresa also knows that. So like, it was kind of felt like not my hometown, but because of where my hometown is located in relation to the UP, we do get a lot of kind of cultural bleed through, like, you know, like it kind of trickles down to us. And we often will see the Native communities, the Native land is bought by the state of Michigan and the casinos are built on. So I think for some of the per capita payments, it comes from casino revenue in my hometown and around kind of Michigan, because there are a lot of different tribes in Michigan. And as we were growing up, we would do like, you know, educational projects, which looking back on, we could have used own voices. We could have used something like this as a resource to read in high school. And I bet it will start getting put in high schools, especially in Michigan, with the understanding that, you know, there are a lot of trigger warnings, which I also was like, hi, that was something. And I didn't see that in any, because this has been on my radar, like I said, for a long time. So I don't know how like all the trigger warnings like kind of escaped my notice, if there were any, but I think Holly might be right. I think they just weren't any. So I think if we can try and make the vow, like the five of us, when we're picking books, like be like, hey, like, you know, we might want to try and start putting that in with our picks. Like, hey, like, here's the review if there's anybody that needs the trigger warnings, which I mean, obviously we can't know for sure until we've read everything. And, you know, nobody's perfect. So we're not going to ever be able to do that. But it might be something nice to serve the community with here, our community, right? Our home here that we're making in this space of the internet, to try and put trigger warnings when we select the books.
I like that a lot.
Just so that we're all trying to do our best, right? Because it's like voting with your dollars, right? So if you can like show trad publishing that you want trigger warnings as readers, they might be more inclined to start putting them in. So
yes,
but yeah, 5-star for me. I loved it. I was engaged from the moment it started because it felt like home. And I grew up in a hockey like house. Neither of my brothers played. I didn't play, but my dad was a Zamboni driver. Like he cleared the ice for a lot of football teams. He's been a coach for like the little league teams. And I really loved that it was kind of like, I mean, it's a hockey story too on some level. So I get that. And that's why I'm repping, you know, like, which, I mean, not because I want what's going on in this story happening in hockey, but I can attest to the fact that in my hometown that the hockey players are treated on the same level as the football players and a lot of the high schools. And when I went off to college, I was telling my dad, like, oh, we're starting to hang out with some of the hockey guys. And my dad was like, listen to me. I don't want you hanging out with the hockey guys. I'm like, what's going on? And I think part of that has to do with how Call Me Grant was, like, because I think there is some of that pervasiveness of sexual assault within the community, which we can't say that about anyone ever one way. All hockey players are people who commit sexual assault, right? Like there's plenty of team members that don't, right? But I think my dad picked up on that in some way even if he couldn't have put language to it. So he really was like, listen, I don't want you around the hockey players. I'm like, what? They're good guys. He goes, yeah, but they get rough sometimes. Like, because he's like, like hockey's a rough sport. It's a full contact sport, right? Like,
right.
It's not, it's not basketball where it's a non-contact sport. So he was being protective. And because I think that Bully captures that well is what I'm getting at, that there's some pervasiveness.
Right. Yeah. That's really interesting. And it's cool to hear that from your perspective, with kind of the knowledge that from that area. Kat and Jen had the same thing, that they were expecting fantasy. It does look like a fantasy
theory.
Yeah. And I thought it was at first. So, but then when I was picking, because it had been recommended, so then when I was trying to decide which books to pick for the poll, I always try to have different things, some thriller, some fantasy, different cultures, maybe a middle grade. And so then I was like, oh, okay, I can put this in there, so it was just, it threw me off too by the cover. Okay, so Kat says, not that I'm looking forward to reading about a rape, but Donna says, this guy is so hot, but he has a girlfriend, but he's so hot, annoyed me. Yes, okay, so for the most part, Donna is not, and I hope I'm saying her name right, because I know she said her exact pronunciation, but I kept feeling like I was butchering it still. But I felt like most of the drama and things that were happening with the relationships, it wasn't that typical, oh my God, this typical teen drama. Maybe it feels like this now, but it really doesn't stay this way for very long. She's not going to be the swoony, drop everything for this guy type of thing. So.
Right. And Kat, I will say, before, I don't want to interrupt, but I will say, Kat, that the rape scene is handled very, very well. And I can give you the exact page number. I think that's just so it's coming. 371 is the page where it's happened. And it is handled very well as it can be handled, I think,
So, I
sorry. I was gonna say, I did need to take a break from it at that point. I took a 2-day break from reading it and then dove back into it just because I was like, okay, it was a lot.
So I don't know if this happened to anyone else, and it wasn't until Alicia messaged us in our group thread, oh my God, did that just happen? And I was like, what just happened? And I was past that point because it wasn't super descriptive, so I didn't know that it actually that it actually happened. I just thought she was kind of assaulted and groped or whatever. So for me, I was like, oh wait, what? I had no idea. And so I didn't know if it was supposed to be this kind of nuanced thing, which it obviously gets addressed later. But I didn't know that that's what had happened. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep reading. Oh my God, that guy's a dick, so.
Okay. So when you went back and reread it, did it click in right away, or did it
No, I went back and I was like, nope, I'm still not getting it. I just out of nowhere.
And there's a page break where there's a scene and then there's a page break and it continues on page 371. Just so everybody knows, if that is a trigger warning that you need to be warned about, please know that is the full warning, that it's there, and you won't necessarily miss much of the story from just not reading that page.
When you messaged that in the group, you didn't, because you didn't say exactly what happened.
Right. And where everybody else was.
Right. And so I hadn't even started the book yet. So I was just thinking, okay, maybe there's a twist here. Maybe someone got revealed to be the bad guy. That's what I was expecting.
Oh.
And then I got to that page and I was like, oh, wow.
No. I
Alicia warned everyone.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone because I mean it's integral to that part of the story, but like reading that full page is not to the overall plot. You won't miss a lot, right? Like I feel like, but I was so enthralled. Like I was in my favorite spot of this book, right? Like I love it when I can savor and devour a book where I'm in that continuum of, oh, I want to just consume this and devour it, but it's so good. I want to savor it because I'm never going to get a chance to read it for the first time ever again. And that's what this book is for me. I feel like this might be my favorite book of the year so far, actually, which is like, whoo, big statement, but it hit a lot. So I was like really into it. I was reading it every spare moment. I was just like tearing through it. And I was so invested in this story as it was coming. I was like, oh no. And I thought it was going to be a physical assault. I thought he was going to, or like an emotional blackmail manipulation. That's where I thought things were going to go. So the fact that it turned into that rape scene was like even more mind-boggling.
Right.
For me.
Yeah.
So, but Heather, Theresa, Vanessa, where are your guys' ratings on it? I mean, we're so excited. I'm so excited. I haven't been here so long. You guys know how I am.
No, it's fine.
But I want to hear what you guys think too.
I also loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I really liked being able to read a book with that tribal representation, and not just that, but like biracial representation, because she wasn't fully, Native American. So, and one of the things that I really liked was in real life I work pretty closely with tribal communities and different aspects of my job, and seeing some of the things that were happening in the book, I was like, yeah, I could totally see this happening like in real life. Like a lot of the substance abuse issues are real issues, and like the fact that like she was trying to enroll as a member of the tribe, having, sort of these identity issues between both cultures, but like really wanted to embrace that, Anishinaabe side of her, like and then it was like, or no, I think Anishinaabe means strong woman, but the how do you pronounce it again, Alicia?
Ojibwe.
Ojibwe.
Yeah.
Okay. Like she wanted to really like not lose that side of her, which, I thought was fascinating, just seeing like throughout the whole book, like how she is so committed to them and trying to help them, even though like, they don't embrace her right away, or not everyone embraces her. So I really liked all of the different layers of the story, from that to obviously the whole like mystery, and even though we've read some thrillers, like it was a very different type of thriller, so it was really refreshing, and I thought it was a rich story. I kind of do agree with Holly that it was a little slow to start, but like the very first, like the very beginning of it, like just pulled me in and then made me say, okay, something is gonna happen. Done. And just that first scene with all of the senses, like she's talking about what she's smelling, the barrel of the gun, like what she's hearing. I was like, yeah, I'm all in.
That's that's kind of like what Jen said, picked up more in the second half, and she gave it a 4. And Lois listened to most of it on the audiobook, and she rated it a solid 5. And finished on her phone. She couldn't stop reading. That's awesome. I love that.
I'm telling you, that was me. I was like, okay, like if I don't have this book, I will like turn over like everything to figure out where I put it, because it was like never more than like a hand away from me as I was working, whatnot. It was.
And hi, Camille. Welcome.
I forgot to say I also listened to the audiobook, which strangely was long. It was like 14 hours. So I usually listen to audiobooks at a higher rate because I do feel like the authors are too slow for me, or the narrator, So I But I enjoyed listening to it. I thought the narrator was very strong.
Well, and I mean, it is almost 500 pages, right? So I guess that makes sense that it was.
Yeah.
That long. Yeah.
It's 488.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh no! Charlie pressed a button. You're so excited that your arm flailed.
I gave it a 5-star too. I agree with everything everyone said so far, and I agree with Holly. I wish I would have listened to it on audiobook because I couldn't pronounce a lot of the words. But if the author ever sees this book discussion, I just want to tell her, wow, and thank you for writing this book. Thank you for writing this book. It was such a joy. I was up to about 3 o'clock reading this book. I was like, okay, just one more chapter and then I'll go to bed. Just one more chapter and then I'll go to bed. But I ended up, yes. And then I was up to 3 o'clock finishing the book and I was like, oh my God. But even the little drops of wisdom that I guess like her grandma, I think it is.
Lily's grandma? Granny June?
Yeah, and Grandmama Donis's Grandmary. Yeah, Grandmary. Her, the little wisdom that I guess they gave them, and they were like dropping them in and out. It was like italicized in the book, whereas priceless. I was shocked in some of the stuff toward the end because I was thinking it was going a different way, and it was a different person, and then I was shocked when it was like. I was like, oh, but we'll talk about that during the spoiler parts. But I really enjoyed it. It was a 5-star for me. It was a book that, and I haven't read a really good book here lately, but this was one that I just, like Alicia said, I couldn't put it down. That's why I was up to 3 in the morning reading. But I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. And I learned a lot about the Indian culture too in it. So. Which I really appreciated. That's why I said if she ever sees this, I just want to tell her thank you for writing this book.
If she is nearby, I'm going.
Yes.
We need her. Sounds like we all lost a little sleep.
Good for us.
Yes, this book was awesome.
Yeah. Let's see if Vanessa will be. Is she in the same train? Oh.
Look at her.
I always seem to be the odd one out. I will say I did enjoy this. And I am glad that it was our pick for this month because if it wasn't for the book club, I definitely would have DNF'd it. Only because it was just a little slow for me, especially seeing as it's a thriller. I thought it would be more fast paced. I did get into it more the second half, like Heather said, and I read the whole second half in one sitting. But I don't know. I haven't really rated this yet because I'm still like going back and forth on how I want to rate it. I'm glad I read it and I did really enjoy it. And there's a lot of parts in here that I enjoyed. But then there was the fact that it was a little slow for me. And I didn't care about the romance at all. I could have done without that part.
Oh, I liked that because there was a lot of push and pull and like kind of going off of what we were saying with Kat earlier, like because she was like, no, we can't do this, and it's like I've been burned before, like just we can't do this. So like she wasn't the one like, oh please, let's try to make it work, I love you already, your hat, she was just like, no, like I care about my tribe, I care about my people. That's not what like that's right. The FBI, they have they have their own agenda. And like, so even though she was working with them, she was still like, yeah, but I'm the one who has to take care of them. So like they were like her main focus.
But I could see how, oh, sorry, Holly, I didn't mean to.
No, I was going to go into something else that Vanessa said.
Oh, I was just going to say, I can see how Vanessa, who is like, I would say like one of our primary thriller readers, right? If you went into it expecting it to be a thriller,
yeah,
it wouldn't necessarily match up to that line. But the library doesn't put it in thriller; it puts it in teen. Actually,
interesting.
We can see that because Danaus is, you know, she's 17. So because she's a 17-year-old main character, it's not necessarily like a thriller story.
Yeah.
So I can see how if that was the expectation, that would not be your cup of tea, Vanessa. So
yeah,
that makes sense to me.
Seeing how slow it kind of started, that was the kind of clue that wasn't like, it was part of it, but it wasn't the main thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Camille feels the same way as you do. It has to be done well, and I've seen ones not done well. But I liked this one. The thing that I was thinking about, because it wasn't until, and I can't remember the exact page number, where Da'Anis was like, oh my God, why does Levi have $10,000 in his account? But it wasn't until then that I was like, it's him, you know, and like after that I was like, it's him. And she once he explained, oh, I'm gonna buy land, and she's like, oh, okay. I'm like, nope, it's him, because she just brushed him off. But before then I had no idea. But Vanessa, I forget, you were pretty early on where you're like, I don't trust Levi. And I was like, what? Girls already
I didn't either.
him? Like I was like, okay, so maybe that was part of it too, is like, you're good at picking up on this stuff. So like it was even less of that kind of mystery for you because you picked up on it so quickly. So maybe, I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I was like, girls like catching it already.
I went into it as a mystery though. I didn't go into it as a thriller. I went into it as a mystery. That's how I was when I first started. That's what I was thinking. Okay, this is going to be a mystery. It's going to have some twist, and there's going to be several suspects that I'm going to be thinking. But I was suspecting Levi pretty early too. I'm with Vanessa on that. I was thinking,
I'm too trusting.
Yeah. I was like, I don't trust Levi. Something's up with him.
The minute she said like, you know, her brother doesn't like any guys around her, but he's okay with Jamie, I was like, yeah, no. I think he just wants you distracted from what he's up to. That's probably why he's okay with Jamie. So I was like, I suspected him early on, and I was like, the one thing that did surprise me was his mom being involved.
Yes.
Oh. That threw me off. Yeah.
Okay, so much. I have so many things here, right? First, I think that Bully does an excellent job of crafting this, like, we make excuses for the people we love, right? Because Da'Anis went through this whole thing, like, oh, Travis was bright. He made us all laugh. It's such a shame that he died of a meth overdose after suicide. That's the other warning we need to give. I knew there was a suicide. Definitely a suicide trigger warning in this. Okay, but I was like, wait, who is it? Obviously. Okay, so suicide, right? But like, you know, Da'Anis like reasons this all out, right? And I think because we make such excuses for the people we love, and Levi is her connection to her dad, and he's her brother, and they are nearly the same age, not the same grade, but they're only 3 months apart. And it's always been like, he's her favorite person, right? And that line at the end where he's like, I'm sorry, I love you. Please don't do this. Tell them the truth. You know, I love you. And she's like, I do love you. I love you enough to tell the truth. Right.
And right.
This one. And she lists them all out. And then she like shuts off contact with him, because I think that's just so incredibly depictive of like, I mean, I know about myself, and I don't know that everybody's this way, but I would lie to the Pope himself if I thought one of my brothers was in trouble. I just, they weren't there. They were with me. I'd be like,
See, I couldn't do it.
I do it too. If it were Heather, I'd be like,
yeah, like no questions asked. I would provide the alibi. You know that, there's no that. Anyway, like I think that she does a really great job of encapsulating that, though, right? Because we make excuses for people we love. We make excuses to like make the people we love meet our own expectations that we have of them. And so something that's right in front of your own face can be very clear to everybody around you, right? And yeah, he is this. He's this hockey god. He's the star. But like, I love that's why her uncle used the light bulb as the image for him in his notebook, right? Because he brings light. He's the light bringer. Like, and there might be something with Levi in a name as light bringer. I'd have to check on that. But it's very interesting that Donis doesn't suspect her brother because she doesn't want to, right? She doesn't want to see that it's Levi. She, of course, it could be Levi. Levi had the motive, he had the excuses, he has all of this, right? But at the same time, he's, you know, this little half and half boy just like she is, and you know, she's like, this is the person on earth who understands me best, and I would never get into something like that. So I know him, I know his motives. So it's not just that she doesn't want to see it, but she's protecting herself from this idea that her brother's not who she thought he was, and that is so tough to come across. You know, like, I mean, Holly, what if Heather was not who you thought she was? Not that that's even like possible at this point, right? But like you would lie to yourself forever to like, you would never believe it, right? No. And that sense of betrayal that she gets from what Levi's doing and how he doesn't protect her and how, you know, at the end, right? Like all of those things. Like if he had shown up and been who she thought he was, if he had been another secret mule or another CI, right? And protected her and punched the guy's lights out and punched Mike's lights out for like kidnapping them and all of that, she never would have told the cops. I can almost guarantee it. But because he betrayed her and betrayed her and betrayed her, and then he was chasing after her as they were leaving the island, right? And he was like he was going to chase her, he was going to catch her, and he was going to take her back and let whatever happened to her because he was corrupted by the money and by the drugs and everything else, right? So if he had shown up and was who she thought he was, she would have protected him. But because he started splintering their relationship from the second she woke up in the trailer, I think he was like, I think Booley was setting her up to disengage from that relationship a little bit and say, yeah, like you need help and you can't do this to our community. So
well, and then having the scarf too, it was like, you hid this from me.
Yeah. And Vanessa, I think like, yes, I was surprised about his mom, but at the same time, like, you know, parents will do a lot to protect their kids and mothers will do a lot to protect their sons. And, you know, it's like, I mean, look at what's going on in the news right now. I don't know if anybody noticed, but, you know, with the case of Gabby Petito, right? Like they just recently this week implicated Brian Laundrie's mom in also having bought a burner phone. Nobody else, just the two of them bought a burner phone. So I could see Judge Firekeeper, you know, Dana, right, is her name. I could see Dana being like, no, like, and just pushing everything aside. Look over here. Don't look at what my son's doing. So I don't know. I thought I was surprised to see her in there, but when she said that line, oh, you Fontaines ruined everything, right before she kidnaps Donis, I was like,
wow.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Wow.
What I liked about Donis is that she was very smart. I mean, chemistry, medicine, like she wants to be a doctor and still in medicine. Like we know she's a smart girl, like, and it's clear in the story that like she's not this like damsel, she doesn't want to be this damsel in distress. She does like take things into her own hands. So clearly she's smart, but she also is human being and, makes mistakes, gets emotional, lets her emotions take over sometimes. And I think that's what kind of clouded her from like suspecting him when she saw the bank account and all those other things. So it was really interesting to me, but it was also a good example of like very good character development and character, which the one thing I was going to mention actually that I forgot to mention at the beginning was it took her 10 years to write this book, and she's like, I think she's in her 40s or 50s or something.
I think it's her 50s.
Yeah,
she's in her 50s.
Oh, I love it.
And she was like, I'm not going to give up on this story. And it was like, you can tell, even though it's a debut, you can tell that she put a lot into it because I was shocked when I heard that it was a debut.
Same. It was so well crafted. It was beautiful writing, and I was like, oh goodness, I can only pick a couple quotes. Like, this is going to be tough.
I don't even have any because I love them. I can give a couple. Maybe.
Camille's intrigued. Yes, Amazon cart. Wonderful.
Yay.
I'm gonna go back to this one later when we kind of go to, if we have time. Oh my gosh. Your favorite romance is the one that ends tragically. So you'll like this book.
You will.
Yeah.
But
someday.
Camille, how brave of you to be reading this or like watching this video having not read the story yet, because we're spoiling some stuff. So I'm glad that you're still intrigued, knowing what's going on screen here.
Jen said, I was just thinking the same thing, family protecting one another. And I had thought of the quote on page 437 that said, she was talking with Levi, we aren't responsible for their choices. I think she was talking about mom and dad. We love imperfect people. We can love them and not condone their actions and beliefs.
Yeah, that was one of mine too.
Oh! That was just the one. It wasn't the one I picked, but I remembered it. So, I did wonder why it came out this year, but played in 2004. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot that it was in the early 2000s. 17 years ago. Oh, that's sad. So, oh good, Alicia's back.
Can we? Okay, one question I had, because I know earlier you guys were talking about the suicide in here, which I couldn't, because I saw some other reviews that mentioned trigger warning for suicide, but I couldn't remember which character are they.
It's Lily's ex-boyfriend Travis. He kills her, and then he kills
Travis.
himself.
Okay, because I got confused at that part, because when I read that part, hold on one second, hold on. Yeah.
I actually have to go.
Oh yes, Heather has to go. Okay.
Okay, but
Put more comments.
You have the last thing.
Let me just say the quote that I really liked was, "Curiosity killed the cat, satisfaction revived her."
Oh yeah.
It took me something to wrap my head around. Which it's Donis. Like, the cat is Donis. Like, she's curious she wants to unravel this mystery, and she's kind of putting herself in danger by doing so, but like, it all ended up, working out. Anyways, like, I'm not describing it very well, but I thought that was a very deep quote, and I love that quote. Love you all. Thanks everyone else for
speech and presentation. Okay. She's giving a presentation right now, or after this. So
I did like that one too.
I was what was it? Yeah. So Travis, right? Lily's. Yeah, that part was what I was confused about, because I know it had said he killed her and then he was going to kill himself, but then I thought that Jamie intervened somehow and then he ended up dead, but I thought it was because of Jamie.
Oh,
Maybe I'm
No, I think he was saving her.
He was
I
saving,
think he
yeah.
dove into
Because he
the
did
gun.
have the gun pointed at her at first before he shot himself. So I think
Oh.
Jamie intervened to save Donis from
Mhm.
Okay, that's what confused me. Okay.
and then he was trying to help her with Lily because he had shot Lily.
Right, because she said something about like, and not to be graphic, but once again, trigger warning. She said, Donna says something like, and like even in her dream, she's like, and I wake up just before or just after I see his head snap to the side. And like, like so I think that, I think Jamie like saw that she was there and like kind of came in like and was trying to get her down and out of the way.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And then to her uncle David, wasn't his like an accidental overdose, which is another trigger warning?
Yeah, that's what they say. Who knows?
I mean, they say it's the accident, but I'm like,
But Dana Firekeeper, like, and Levi, it was kind of a loose end, but they do say it was an accidental overdose, but we'll never get that.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I don't know.
Suspicious, right? Seems suspicious.
Yeah, it was kind of suspicious.
I'll say, I really liked. Well, first off, I really like learning about the culture in here, and then the ceremony at the end with the pansies, that healing ceremony. I love that. I thought that was a great part to that, to kind of have that closure or resolution for Donis. And I'm so glad she didn't stay stuck blaming herself for the assault.
Well, she calls a blanket party. She tells Aunt Teddy because once she knows that there's not going to be any like consequences for Call Me Grant, she calls a blanket party. They're going to beat the out of him.
Okay. So I wasn't. I saw that part, but I wasn't entirely clear on what the blanket party is.
So they talk about it at the beginning when she's first like at Teddy's house, and Teddy gets woke up in the middle of the night, and she's got a call, and she's got this fierce look on her face. And remember, Teddy's described as like being the brawler, right? Like Teddy is the enforcer. Teddy, which is like a hockey term too. Like every team, like she says in it, every team needs some goons. The goons are the enforcers. The goons are the ones that like will slam other players against the boards. The goons are the ones that, will protect it, the big playmakers, right? They're the muscle. So Teddy is described as being the muscle. And early in that scene, Donis is like, I want to go to take me with you, Auntie. And she's like, no, we're not. And she says there, a blanket party is when all the female relatives of a Quay woman, go out and basically kidnap a man who did something to hurt that woman, and they take him out to the woods and they beat him up like forever. And Auntie's like, no, I'm not taking you. You stay here. Don't let me catch you out there. You're not coming with me, right? So to see like from that point, because she wanted to go to be a part of it. She didn't want to go because she was the reason for it. And she said at the end there, when she's realizing that there will be no consequences for Call Me Grant because he did it on tribal land and she was an enrolled member, which was, that part made me so mad because it bothered me. Right? Yeah. So she said, she tells her mom and her aunt, he raped me, blanket party, you will take me. And her aunt just nods. Like, yeah. So we don't need to see that. But the implication there is that they will serve their own kind of justice. The women of the tribe will serve their own kind of justice.
Wow.
Okay.
There were 100 women there.
Mm.
Wow.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Now, does they use the word sama a lot throughout the story? Now, is sama, does that mean offering?
It's offering, but
Like
it's also tobacco specifically, I think.
Okay, because I was like, okay, I think this has a couple of different meanings within the story.
Yeah,
But I was thinking it's
it's
at some
offering,
point it
but
meant, yeah. I was thinking it was offering.
typically the offering is tobacco. So
Tobacco. Okay.
I think all tobacco can be sama, but not all
Okay.
sama is tobacco.
Can be tobacco. Okay.
Right.
Got
Does that
it.
make sense?
Yeah, I was like, okay, I was because I wrote that down. I was like, okay, I need to figure this out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was thinking it was an offering. And I
Yeah.
do like on the back of the book, the prayer that's on the back of the book where she says the prayer begins with offering sama and sharing my spirit name, clan, and where I'm from. I always add an extra name to make sure Creator knows who I am. A name that connects me to my father because I began as a secret and then a scandal.
Yes.
So
I
she
wanted
was
to
like
talk about
carrying
that.
that. Yeah, she was carrying that with her too because of the situation with her dad, Levi, and her mom,
Right.
and how that whole situation happened. And I was like, oh, she feels like she's a secret.
Mm.
Right. But like the power of names is so pervasive, right?
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
throughout this whole story because she
Mhm.
talks about it with Jamie, and that's one of the things I don't like is that we never learn Jamie's real name. And so
We don't.
I hope that if there's a spin-off or a sequel or like a and you know like
I
short
didn't realize that.
for like
Yeah, he never tells her his name.
He doesn't
Not
tell him his
even
real
yet.
name. But to be fair, she also doesn't tell him her Ojibwe name. She doesn't give
Oh
that
yeah, that's right. She
name.
didn't.
Where
Yeah.
she says, no, that's a part where I will only share with myself, or that's a part of myself I will only share with someone I like trust completely, or like, and
Mhm.
it's because of this idea that names carry power. And I've always thought that, right? Like I totally understand that, believe that.
Mhm.
Like my name is of noble and good cheer. And I feel like, yeah, like that kind of gets me. That's who I am, right? But this motif of like the names that we call ourselves, the names that we let others call us, and the names that we like hold in the secret of our heart are our identity, and
Mhm.
how we want to present that to the world matters. And I just really like that whole motif throughout the whole thing
Mhm.
because Donis is not Donis Firekeeper, right? Because her dad never like laid claim to her, or like her, you know, like he was married to Dana by the time that her mom came back after having the baby. And so like she's Donis Fontaine. She's got her mom's name as her last name. And so it's just interesting that this part, and she wants the creator to know who she is, and make sure that like Donis Fontaine, Donis Firekeeper are one and the same, right? If like Donis Firekeeper exists in the back of her head or exists, you know, to the tribe and all of that, like it's just the names have power. And I think that's one of the really cool motifs. Like if I was going to craft a analytical paper about this, right? Like sometimes I would think about doing that. I would highlight this motif throughout
with the
story of the names. Yeah, because it's something that runs the whole way. And I would talk about her representation of her names. And I would talk about how we don't know Jamie's real name and how that affects things. And like even Senior Agent Ron, we don't really fully know, like he's supposed to be Jamie's uncle, right? But like it goes on, and I think there's, and even like when she calls Grand Mary, you know, there's like, it's a term of endearment. It's a term of like, like this is my special relationship with my grandmother. Like nobody else calls her Grand Mary, you know, like, so.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, that I think.
And she did make the comment that she also made the comment that she wouldn't know the last name of her child's name. Like with her and Jamie, she said that in there. She's like, and it's funny because I wouldn't even know my child's last name.
Yeah,
to call her son. So so names are a big thing with them. And I didn't realize. I read the Arthur note, and I didn't realize that so many Native American women that so much is happening to them.
Right.
Because she did add the statistics. I had no clue that a lot of that was happening.
I think I did because of my hometown. Like, I understand, like, and it's not something that is like talked about, but once again, I talk about like if this, like, you know, these cultures kind of blend together a little bit, right? In my hometown. And like, there's just something about that like you understand that there's this, especially like this fetishizing of Native women, which I think Bully talks about a little bit here. And I would never want to speak to that because I'm not part of that community. But from an outsider looking in, I think it's a fairly accurate representation of what I've learned in my upbringing.
Right.
Yeah. That just kind of shocked me. That's happening to them.
Yeah, I think.
And I love the fact that even though I'm sorry, Holly.
Oh no, I was just saying like the fact that like all that is something that like really is going on is like heartbreaking. You know, it's not just fiction. So.
Right.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Theresa?
I was gonna say that I love the fact that even though the author is, I believe she's Chippewa, she still researched a lot, and she provided like resources and stuff so that you can, if you wanted to go more in depth in research, you could. But even though she is a Chippewa Indian, she still researched a lot, and she made it clear that I guess that some of it she kind of made up. I think the tribe, she said. There's something that she had pointed out that she's Beard Clan, but she changed like I think that one of the tribes or something in the story. But you could tell that she researched it, even though, you know, she probably has a lot of life experience with it because she's a Chippewa Indian. But you could tell that she really researched it, and I love the fact that she provided the sources in the back of the book.
Yeah. I like that at least.
Yeah. The only thing I wish she had like resources so you could go and look up and kind of research, you know, especially, I mean, some of the things that she researched. The only thing I wish that would have been in here would have been a maybe like a glossary guide to some of the words, some of the meanings, so we would know the meanings.
I think that's
a lot of stuff I kind of looked up as I was going.
That's a good point.
Looked them up as I was going.
Right.
Yeah.
I do think she did a pretty good. Oh, sorry, Theresa. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I actually like looked up just to get the wording. I really wish I would listen to the audiobook, but I put them in Google to have it tell me what the saying was, so that I would know what I was reading.
Did Google do it? Did they do it correctly? Because, you know, sometimes Google has a funny way of pronouncing it.
She tried. She got it as close as she could get it. She got the words as close as she could get it. But I mean, she tried. My Google Assistant tried, but I was just
community member.
Yeah.
She's like, you says this word, isn't that how Google pronounced it? And they're like,
no. I'm gonna check out this podcast. Oh, sorry.
I have one of those Google minis, and I was asking her, and she was trying to say it. I mean, she tried to do the best she could, but it helped me understand because she gave it gave like a little meaning after I looked it up. It gave like a little meaning of stuff, so I could understand, you know, the language a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So this is interesting. Lois is saying this podcast, Missing and Murdered by CBC Media, explores these issues. So that's really interesting. Okay. So thank you for dropping that. I'll have to check it out. I've been subscribing to more podcasts lately, so it's one I'll have to add to my list. I know we'll go a little bit over, but I'll try to still be respectful of everyone's time. So do you guys want to go through quotes that you guys liked? And I think, you know, if anything else pressing that you are just dying to talk about. The one quote that I pulled two funny ones because that was another thing that I was like, there's actually some really good humor in here that kind of helped lighten the mood for some of the dark things. But the one beautiful quote that I'll say before I say the funny ones is on page 467 when Grandmary passed. And she says, I loved Grandmary and I know she loved me. Correction, I love her and she loves me. When our loved ones die, the love stays alive in the present. Oh my gosh. Like, I was all of a sudden emotional, like reading that out loud. Like, what? Don't get choked up, Holly. But that was just so beautiful. Like, I was like, I read it and I was like, it's so disgustingly beautiful. Oh, break my heart.
Like you wish you could have wrote it disgustingly beautiful.
Yeah. One of those weird. I remember Victoria Schwab had said when she was like working on lines in A Darker Shade of Magic. And she was like, I literally spent 2.5 hours on this one line because I knew it was going to be a line that people were going to remember and that it was going to be one of those quotes that people pick out. And it was like, I would rather die on an adventure than live standing still. And I just remembered that because it was just like this punchy thing. And she spent forever on it. And I was like, she probably spent forever on that line. And then really quickly, two funny ones I want to say. Of course, so this one was on page 67. And this was what I liked when Donis was, weaving in her like medical or, anatomy knowledge and all of that. And Jamie had changed his shirt. So Jamie turns away when changing, but I can't resist taking a peek at his back muscles for science. I love that. I'm gonna do that. I'll be like,
for science.
I don't remember where this quote is. Oh, I don't even remember exactly what it said. I wish I had bookmarked it. But it was her, I think it was Grand June, Lily's grandma June.
Yes, yeah.
I think her and Donis's aunt were there, and they were discussing something about men, and they had this really funny line in there. I wish I remembered where it was.
Was it when she was talking with Auntie Teddy, and I think she was like gonna it was the cover for Jamie, or like, Jamie and I are gonna go have this romantic weekend. And then she ends the call with, be a smart queer. Lust doesn't last, but herpes is forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she texts, and then Auntie texts her, your pleasure is equal to or greater than his. Make sure he knows that.
I loved her aunt. Her aunt.
Her aunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lois says, sorry. Do you want to, I'll shout out Lois's after.
I was just going to say on page 356, I liked it. I guess when you promise stuff to people don't know exactly how important it is. But on 356, that very last line when she's talking about her dad, and then she goes, don't you know, Jamie, love is a promise, and promises you don't keep are the worst lies of all.
Yeah.
Which I was
That's another mic drop. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, that is so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
I have so many stickies in my book.
Lois said not a quote, but I want to shout out the part. Oh my gosh. Where the 26 elders lined up to give Donis letters to recommend she be enrolled in the tribe when she only needed 3. Yes.
Oh.
I was like,
I loved that too. Great scene.
I love her so much.
Oh.
I mean, this book had wonderful scenes and wonderful quotes. I mean, it was just, it was the characters were so developed.
Vanessa, I wonder if you'll like the movie. I wonder if knowing what to expect now will make you, I don't know. Just playing devil's advocate.
I probably will. I don't know. I guess it depends on how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Just, guys, I feel like there's so many more things we can talk about. Like, I mean, we didn't even get to talk about the pucks. We haven't even talked about how the drugs were being.
Oh yes,
that was clever.
Them setting. So I took it as Levi trying to set her up, or were they trying to set up Levi to? So they were trying to set her up, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's why.
Okay.
She's on the joint account. Remember, she's on the joint account.
And I was like,
well, before he was.
She was on the account with
they
him.
were trying.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
So it would have made it look like she was the money trail and that she had the stuff in her room.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, because then she's like, "Why is this in my room?"
Yeah, because remember he said, "I left you something in your room for her gift." He said, He gave her dad's necklace, but then the necklace thing, and then he was like, "Well,
Right, and then her mom was like, "She's carrying something else. What was it?"
Yeah.
She's like,
Wow.
And then he was like, "I left something in your room for you," and I was like, "Oh, that."
I thought he meant the picture because he left that in a room as a gift.
That's what he was
right.
Yeah.
Box.
Yeah.
With the pucks.
But when I read it and I saw those pucks were there, and I was like, "Well, did he leave that instead of the picture for her? Or wait a minute, are they trying to set her up? What is going on?"
I don't think she was meant to find the pucks. I think it's because her mom mentioned.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is. Yeah,
the second gift.
So. Yeah, because they were under her dirty.
Okay.
Yeah,
they were like buried in her closet under her hockey gear from the game.
So okay. So maybe she wasn't supposed to find that. Okay. Okay.
Supposed to find that.
Wow.
They were setting her up.
Jerks.
I was like, oh, that is so wrong.
Yes, lots of twists and turns in the last fourth, which I enjoyed most definitely. It was definitely like I don't know, like even though like I suspected Levi, I didn't know how, all of the secrets and like how things were going to play out. And, then Donis just collapsing. I was like, wait, did I miss it? Did she get shot? That's
what I thought.
Happened? So that was really interesting for me, was learning that like livers can regenerate. Like if it's a complete tear, it takes 6 months. And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh. Need to run off. Bye, Kat.
Bye, Kat. Thanks for
joining. Thanks for joining us.
And
then I was
too.
You're fine, Vanessa. Do you want to say a quick bye?
And any last thoughts?
Last thoughts. I don't know. I definitely am interested to see what they do with the movie. So
yes,
definitely excited about that. I think it'll make it really good. And I think the one thing about going from book to screen is, sometimes I feel like if there's a book where I'm like, the pacing is a little slower off for me, I feel like usually that gets better when they adapt it to films. So we'll see how that goes. So.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Well, I'm glad we got to chat.
Thanks. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Whoa. Here we
go.
What I was going to ask is, what about Stormy? When he went back into the trailer.
Yes.
And he helped Jamie get loose, even though she like attacked him or whatever.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's about to hack his ankles
I
off.
was like, whoa. Because but thinking like she's thinking and I'm walking in and I see that, I would have thought the same thing. But Stormy didn't say anything after that. And then you find out that when she attacked him, that's what messed up her lip. Her liver had been messed up. I don't know if it was from playing the game but when she hit him and tackled him, that's what made it, I guess, worse. And I think that's the reason why she passed out. But I mean, how brave was she to go in and play hockey knowing that her shoulder was like all jacked up?
Right.
Knowing that she had that numb. I'm like, she is so brave in this book, because I didn't really think she was going to do the CI stuff. Yes. I was like, oh, she's not going to do it. She's all mad and she's upset. She's not going to do it. She's just going to say, forget it. And then she ends up doing it, and she was so good at it.
She was the secret squirrel.
Yes, she was so good at it.
I loved it.
Oh my gosh. There's just so many parts. Yeah. So I think I interpreted the Stormy like wanting to help Jamie and get her free and all of that was because she was his friend too. You know, she like he goes to jail, he doesn't speak. He knows he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail because he won't give up Levi, because Levi's like a brother to him and has protected him and, you know, let him live with him and, you know, all of the things he did for Stormy, right?
Yeah.
But Donis played on the team with Stormy too. Donis and Stormy were also friends. They were teammates, you know.
Right.
Like I don't know that it was just kind of a testament to his loyalty to her. Like, I can't go against these guys necessarily, but I won't help them. You know, like I'm going to help on you, or you know, like something about that loyalty there, where he was like he just thought to himself, like, I can't let this happen to Donis. You know, I can't let this, or like this is wrong.
Yeah.
Like, leave Jamie tied up in a trailer.
Right.
He knows where
to
he
like
is.
starve and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like he'll starve to death, right? Like
Right.
So, I mean, even though he's
is Vanessa back?
I'm back. Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Oh, there she is.
Hi.
I was supposed to. My mom had wanted me to do something, so I had to go. But then she left, so I'm like,
Welcome back.
Sure, why not? I love it.
I also think Stormy and Jamie might have bonded while playing hockey together. Yeah.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even though he's complicit in like, because he's not giving them up, right? But yeah, he's maybe the least guilty of the three.
I just
what worries me.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. What worries me is that Mike is still
That's what I was
out
gonna
there.
say. I was just like, oh, this is just
He's
so
like
upset, because I mean, and I guess it's like that's always the thing. Not everything wraps up in this pretty little bow and everything's perfect. It's like, hey, like this culprit is like at large. You know, he's like escaped, and these people, you know, like even Dana, Firekeeper, like wasn't gonna get in trouble for kidnapping Donis. And so it's like there's just this justice that isn't served, but and there's these mysteries or these loose ends and that might never get tied, and that's just how the world works. So it was this happy ending, but then it still was bittersweet and sweet, and realistic too. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, I think there's just so many things that I hear and be like, oh, so many things. But I really liked the quote on page 99. So it's kind of like end of a paragraph and a paragraph right in about the middle of the page. My father's family was named for its role in the tribal community for generations. Firekeeper. Auntie happened to marry a man from another Ojibwe community who was also taught firekeeper duties. Firekeepers strike the fire for ceremonies, funerals, sweat lodges, and other cultural events where our prayers are carried by the smoke to Creator. The ceremonial fire is special. You don't roast marshmallows or sing 49er songs at it. Firekeepers ensure that the protocols are followed the entire time it burns. No politics, no drinking, and no gossip. Only good thoughts to feed the fire and carry our prayers. And I'm looking for the quote, but I haven't found it. But it's the one where she talks about being on her period and how she doesn't go near the fire when she's on her period, because as women we carry our own kind of magic during that time.
Yes.
And I think that was so interesting that like you don't mix these like life and death forces you know, at the same time. And you can learn a lot about a culture with how they treat their dead, right? So the fact that there's a 4-day ceremony and like, but the book's divided into 4 parts, north, or like, you know, east, south, north, very specifically where all journeys start, right? Because the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. You have to make that journey around as, you know, like life starts, it would make sense. Life starts east and you got to go all around the cycle. And
yeah, I did make note of that where it was like, this is when women are most powerful during menstruation.
Wasn't that on page 160? 160 or 161?
Yeah, I thought it was, but I keep not finding it.
She was talking about her moon.
Yeah, can you read it aloud, Lisa, if you see it? Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, I found it. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah. I think it was on 160 or 161.
You're right, and that's the number I had in my head, but I thought it was at the top of the page, so I wasn't looking at the bottom. Okay, so 160.
Yeah, because I tagged it. Yeah.
I don't set any seema down with my morning prayer. Women are at their most powerful during menstruation, connected to life-giving forces. Auntie gave me teachings. The reason we don't use traditional medicines and we're not around ceremonial fires during this time is that we carry our own medicine and fire within. Both of those things, right? I love that.
Yeah.
And others may act as if something annoying or unclean, but even the way we refer to menstruation is respectful. Auntie said, none of this being on the rag or the red curse. Your moon is a mighty time, Quay. And like that is something that I feel like should be talked about as, you know, I mean, we're all women and women identifying here, but there's still this huge stigma surrounding menstruation in the world and, you know, around, and like how important is this exact quote for this reason? Because, you know, roughly half percent of the world is a woman, right? Give or take 50% of us, right? And things like the pink tax really upset me. And I don't know if you all know what the pink tax is, but the pink tax is like anything that can be made for women that women and men will have to like use. So like the pink tax can be applied to razors, and they'll upcharge on it if it's like a pink or a purple razor. And like pens. The pink tax can be applied to pens because if you make it a pen, it has to be girly, and oh my gosh, only women want this. But then you also look at the fact that tampons or menstruation products, tampons, pads, any menstruation products are always taxed, and they're always only going to be taxed for 50% of the population, right? Like even if a man is buying it for his wife or his daughters, you know, like that is a tax that is only put on women. And so I think like if we're going to look at why representation matters again, because I feel like I have to bring it out every time I'm on a screen. Like people need pieces of themselves in books and in stories. And that's why we write. That's why we read. That's why we do the things that we do to remind ourselves that we're not alone. And this is a huge positive representation of menstruation. And I am so thankful that she made sure to include that, because it was a page, you know, it was a couple paragraphs, but that is incredible.
It was enough for me to write down in my book, you know.
I tagged it. Yeah, I have my tags.
Oh, I love it.
I tagged it.
That was definitely the page. I was like, I know it's here. Where did it go? But I thought it was at the top of the page.
I was like, oh my God, that is a powerful statement. So I tagged it.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
One last thing I forgot I wanted to mention was going back to Jonas and Jamie's relationship. You know I said I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I do appreciate. I did really like the end, what she tells Jamie, how he's like, you know, pick anywhere you want to go to school, I'll go with you. And she's like, no, you need to be healthy first. We both need to be healthy individuals. And I was like, yes, you know, that is, you need to see more in these books. It's like showing what healthy relationships look like, and the fact that she recognized that what he was doing was not healthy, and so she had to end it. I like that.
Yes.
And like that the scene is important, right? Like, because I mean, we've got a whole book dedicated to the healing cycles and the healing rituals that we do, and the ways that we need to heal our own wounds, right? And yeah, like that she places that value is so incredible. I agree, Vanessa. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, that's like Donis was like, you know, by far my favorite character because of her strength and especially how she handled that. Like, it took a lot of courage too, and intelligence more than just her medical book smarts, you know. So, well, oh my gosh, we could keep going forever with this book. If you guys have anything else that you want to say, you know, feel free to keep chatting in the Goodreads group. We still have the thread that you guys can use to, you know, if you find anything, find out anything or think of anything, because I'd love to keep talking about it. But this was a really great pick, so yay! I forget who.
Yes, it was.
In the group, but heading in to spooky season, this month we are reading White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. Yay! Which this is the first time that I'm reading it and listening. Finally, I am reading something and listening to audiobooks at the same time, and really enjoying it so far. So I'm hopping on the bandwagon and doing double duty.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite authors, so I'm so happy
you got me into her. So
yes,
like with Allegedly and Monday's Not Coming. So yeah, she's up there for me. Well, thank you everyone for joining for this discussion. It was awesome to have the whole fam back. And I look forward to chatting in the Goodreads group and then next month. All right, everyone, have a great day, and we will see you online.
Maybe tomorrow.
Bye.
Yes.